As a real gamer, the only thing I like as much as playing video games is bitching about video games. I can usually find something to be upset about when it comes to any game. But every now and then, something is just so enjoyable, so heckin' cute in this case, that it's almost impossible to be mad or angry while playing it, even if you try. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land definitely falls into that category. This game, yeah, you just can't help but have a smile on your face while playing it. If you're someone who has trouble enjoying life, you suffer from depression, this game, don't bother spending hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on doctor's appointments and drugs. This game will cure it for you, probably. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, this isn't medical advice. So this latest Kirby adventure sees everyone's favorite pink puffball being sucked up by some crazy cosmic vortex that takes him from his planet Popstar to a totally new world that, well, it looks a little familiar, I'd say. But it's also a sort of post-apocalyptic type scenario. Lots of overgrown nature taking over buildings and such. You may be wondering what happened to the inhabitants of this planet, and what does it have to do with what just happened to yours? Well, Kirby's gonna figure all that out. This game has such a cool dynamic visually. You've still got the bright and cheery designs of Kirby, his friends, and his foes. All very cutesy and vibrant, but a lot of the time these designs are contrasted with these dreary, almost creepy atmospheres. Now, that's certainly not everything. Some of the stuff is more out in nature and fits with the standard Kirby feel, but man, you've got some of these places, like abandoned factories tucked away in volcanoes. I mean, like Resident Evil looking shit. And you've got little Kirby running around them, like, yeah, I'm here, I gotta save the world. Again, having these adorable characters running around these environments is strange, but it also works, and it helps that everything is wonderfully designed. I'm very grateful they went with a minimalistic UI approach. You can play this with very little clutter on the screen most of the time, so you can fully enjoy all the beautiful scenery and characters. Again, a lot of contrasting elements that somehow fit well together. And thanks to the transition to 3D, you can get a nice sense of scale with some of these locations. Again, seeing Kirby approaching like a Gothic cathedral tucked away in the snowy mountains is definitely different, but it's awesome. So yeah, visually, I think the game is absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of the 3D impact, let's talk about the gameplay. This is very much your typical Kirby game in terms of going around, getting your power-ups, and progressing through various levels. But the 3D adds so much to all that. Something like the guns. Obviously, you know, whenever Kirby can get his hands on firearms and cap some fools, it's a great time. But here, you've got the aiming mechanic where you can move your cursor around the screen and shoot enemies or targets. Stuff like this in a 3D world adds a lot of possibilities for both fighting enemies as well as solving puzzles. Similarly, something like the boomerang, when you throw it, you can like hold the button down and it kind of charges up and stays in the same spot, and it'll always, you know, come back to you, so you can move Kirby around and have it, you know, take out enemies or targets or something that are standing in a weird direction. You've got the drill ability that allows Kirby to tunnel underground, and there are segments where you gotta like dig a circle around something to like cause an earthquake effect. Just using the abilities to get around a lot of the time, like the ice one to skate over dangerous environments. The gameplay is so solid, so satisfying, so polished, you'd think Kirby had been doing this 3D thing for a long time. Also, the power-ups, just beyond their uses in the 3D space, is that you can power them up, sort of RPG style. You can find these blueprints throughout the levels that you can bring to this cute little Waddle Dee builder man, and he can use them to craft you more powerful versions of the power-ups, of the abilities, that can change the mechanics a bit. Like you can turn the bombs into homing bombs that will seek out enemies and explode on them. And as a lot of these abilities get stronger, more badass, they also in a way get cuter. Like you can just get this feeling of, oh, look at you, all tough and stuff. There's like a reoccurring side quest, right, where you gotta wrangle up ducklings and get them to their mom. And doing this, completing this while seeing Kirby running around with like a giant sword and helmet. Again, just rounding up these baby ducks like, come on guys, I'll protect you. It's so cute. It's ridiculous. Like, how could you not just have a big smile on your face while playing this game? Again, it's impossible. The big new gameplay element, though, is the Mouthful Abilities, where Kirby eats these larger objects, and they completely change not only his abilities, but, stuff like even how he moves. Obviously, a car moves a lot different than Kirby does normally, but yeah, they completely change things up and add some great variety. In any game, you want to be able to break up the monotony of things. In a platformer like this, for instance, not having the player just always running around the courses, jumping on stuff. And yeah, when you can turn into a car, well, now you've got some, more driving racing type scenarios. There's this light bulb one that can light up dark spaces. You also can't move very fast with this ability, but you use it to walk through these pitch black areas, and typically there's a maze aspect, like you're trying to stay in a small path, weaving around, avoiding enemies and pitfalls. There's a glider one that puts you in these flying on rail segments. So things are getting shaken up pretty regularly and staying fresh. And beyond that, you've got this whole town building mechanic with the Waddle Dees. As you progress through the game, you're saving more and more of them, and when you go back to your hub, their town, you regularly find that they are expanding it and offering up new stuff for you to do, like a coliseum to have, fights with stronger enemies, a pond for fishing, there's a food stand you can run. Yeah, a lot of things to keep things interesting, just once more, a pure joyful experience. And have I mentioned yet how cute everything is? This game is so pleasant to play. Now, nothing is ever too difficult. Like, the game never feels frustrating or anything like that. It's intended to be easier. Even on the harder, wild difficulty setting, I never really had any trouble. And I know that has been a bit of a point of debate when it comes to games like this and how they stack up to other platformers. Like, this is a thing that always comes up with people when it comes to stuff like other Kirby games, the Yoshi games as well. I hear this a lot with this idea that they're too easy and therefore not as good as like a traditional Mario. For one, I almost always disagree with this concept, and I've had people say it kind of confuses them, with me also being someone who is a big defender or proponent of difficulty in games. I'm someone who says I don't think they need a million different options. Dark Souls, I think, should stay hard, doesn't need an easy mode. I remember when Metroid Dread came out, one of the things that really exposed who wasn't familiar with Metroid games was people screaming about getting lost, how the game doesn't tell you where to go. How am I supposed to beat this if there isn't a big blinking dot on the map telling me where I gotta go? Like, you just explore, dude, kind of figure it out. But yeah, I'm very much in favor of difficulty, but at the same time, this may also be crazy to some of you, not every game has to be Dark Souls or Metroid. Different strokes for different folks. Have you ever heard of that? You can have games that are more focused on just being relaxing and enjoyable like this. Something where you can hand the controller to a young child or someone who's not very into games and let them play either by themselves or in co-op. Something you can play with them and both just have an absolute blast. This is worth emphasizing if you're in that camp. Maybe you're a big gamer, but you've got a little kid who perhaps you're starting to show the ropes, a wife or husband who isn't very adept, but you try to enjoy the occasional game with them. This game is perfect for that. And that's the thing. Games like this offer something that some of those tougher games don't. And it's needed. There's definitely a market for it. But I'd also point out that I myself, I'm not saying I'm necessarily better at games than your 3-year-old or your wife who can't even name 10 video game characters, but I do waste a lot more of my time playing video games than them. And I, again, find playing this to be just a joy. Like, the key for me is that while this game is very easy, it never feels boring. It never feels dull. It's so well designed. The gameplay, the movement, the abilities are so crisp, so fun to use. And again, you've got that variety of different gameplay elements. It's still incredibly engaging. And there are some more challenging aspects. You've got all the, like I mentioned, the Waddle Dees that you're trying to rescue. And in each level, there are side quests that require you to explore the levels a little bit more, maybe find secret areas, do some extra minor puzzle solving to find more Waddle Dees. You've got these little hidden side quests in each level. They're a secret until you complete them, or at least start them. Like if it's a multi-part quest, say collect multiple of something. Once you collect one of them, it'll kind of pop up and be like, hey, that's one of the quests in this level. And once you beat a level, you can get like an unexplored quest revealed for you. There's quite a lot actually to each level. I will say with some of these side quests, even when you do figure out what they are, can be a little confusing. Like, don't get lost navigating the mall. Like, for one, Kirby, who are you to say I'm lost? Okay, what are you, my girlfriend? Oh, babe, just stop and ask someone for directions. I'm a man, okay? I don't get lost. I just take really long detours sometimes. And going even further, you've got these challenge levels throughout the game, where beating them grants you these stars that you use to upgrade Kirby's various copy abilities, like I mentioned earlier. Each one of these levels is focused on a single ability, and you have to complete them within a certain time limit. And while you've just got to complete them before the timer runs out to get the star, there's also a bonus challenge for completing them in a much quicker amount of time. Like they could give you 2.5, 3 minutes to complete the level, but for that bonus, you got to do it in only a minute, maybe 45 seconds, something like that. And getting those quicker times, I gotta say, can actually be pretty tough. And you just get some bonus coins for doing it, so it's definitely not necessary to go through and get those faster times in the level, but it definitely provides an added challenge to the game. Like, you'll have to get pretty proficient with all the various abilities and try some of these levels multiple times if you're gonna go for those faster times. So while much of it is not necessary, there is content here that can help you get more out of the game, both in terms of challenge and time investment, because you don't really need to pay much attention to the side quests or the challenge stages to beat the game. You don't need to upgrade the copy abilities in that, but going for these things, again, can help you add a lot of playtime, because you can probably beat this game straight through in just like 10 to 12 hours, I'd say. Again, that's just mostly cruising straight to the end, but you could easily double that, I think, if you go for more of a completionist run, especially, again, trying to get those faster times in the challenges. So I want to stress that while you can mostly turn your brain off and just enjoy this beautiful game, there is content that will push you a little bit. I'm not saying this stuff is super tough or anything, but it does add more content to this fantastic experience. And when you're having such a pleasant time, you want more of it. Like, this stuff doesn't usually pull me in for a lot of games. I'm not someone who gets too caught up with like trying to 100% levels and stuff like that, but I did find myself wanting to replay levels to find all the Waddle Dees, again, get those faster times in the challenges. And I've noticed a lot of other people getting sucked into that as well, and I really think it's one of those instances where you just want more of this great experience. I actually liken it a little bit to Spider-Man on PS4. I remember that game had like a really high completion rate compared to other PS4 games, and I said I think it's just because people want an excuse to keep playing the game, and I feel a similar way with Kirby. Also, the music even. Let's not forget, we're talking about Kirby the Grammy winner now. The music is amazing in this game. Very cheery, reinforces that relaxing feel. Once more, I know I've said it a bunch about this game. It's just everything's an absolute joy. I don't see how you can't enjoy yourself while playing it. Like, you could be in the worst mood, I think, and you pop this game in, and it really, I think, will turn it all around. Like, it's the perfect game to throw on when you're stressed out, needing to just chill out for a bit. Like I said at the top, I really can't complain about anything with this game. I wish I could, but it's like pure happiness distilled into game form. This is something I highly recommend to everyone. Yes, it's super easy. If you're looking for something light, you really can't do much better than this game on Nintendo Switch, in my opinion, and that's saying something because, again, this type of game is very prevalent on the Switch, but I also think most people will enjoy this because it's just so fun and well made. While the game hasn't been out so long, we're already hearing great things about the sales, so I really hope we're not only getting more Kirby, more 3D Kirby, but I hope we're getting more of this soon. I know this game just came out, but I don't want to see 3D Kirby now go on the back burner in favor for more 2D Kirby, perhaps spin-off stuff like Rainbow Curse. I don't want any of that. I want more 3D Kirby as soon as possible. If they can do this phenomenal of a job with 3D not really being Kirby's thing, I mean, imagine how good this can be as they build off of it. give us perhaps even bigger, more open levels. Like, there's just so many places you can go here, and I'm just hoping that we're just laying some amazing groundwork for future, even better Kirby games. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Kirby and the Forgotten Land in the comments. Are you currently playing the game? Are you enjoying it as much as I am? And how do you think it stacks up against other platformers on the Switch? As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.